My name is John Schreiber. I'm the president of the Arts Center. Thanks for being here. And I'm excited that we have a fascinating and extremely attractive group of panelists here to talk to us about how technology-focused companies like our Newark neighbor Audible and the food delivery service DoorDash work hand in hand with small businesses to make our downtowns vibrant, engaging. I want to thank our friends at PNC Bank, the sponsor of our Business Partners Roundtable series, and also our breakfast sponsor, PSEG. They were up all night cutting the fruit, so you want to thank them for that. And I also want to thank all of our colleagues at the Newark Alliance, Evan Weiss and his team, who have helped us get the word out about today's gathering. These roundtable conversations are one of the benefits of our Business Partners program, and that's a corporate philanthropy initiative. I want to thank the members of the Business Partners Committee, especially Joel Sherman, our committee chair, and Joel is one of the leaders at Atlantic Tomorrow's office. Thank you, Joel. Where are you, Joel? There you are. And so thanks. I also want to note that while we have one representative on our panel today who operates a business here in Newark on Halsey Street, we also have a number of business owners and supporters in the room. Their companies make downtown Halsey Street a true shopping destination. It's become much more vibrant as the years have gone by, and I want to welcome very specifically Rashad Davis of Plantivia Wellness, Adam Burgo of Black Swan Espresso, Lynette LaShawn of Off the Hanger, Anita Dickens of Ani Clothier, and Lavinia Spencer of Brick City Pets. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. And if you have not been to Halsey Street lately, please go to Halsey Street because the vibrancy on that avenue is substantial, and it only gets more so as time goes by. Before we formally introduce our panelists, I want to let you know about a couple of upcoming events at the Arts Center. Tomorrow, we're going to be hosting our first NJPAC Wellness Fair. And this will occur in the lobby, the grand lobby of Prudential Hall from noon to 3 p.m. We invite everybody here to join us. There will be a variety of vendors and participants, all in the spirit of trying to figure out how to live a healthier, longer, and happier life. Our partners for this include RWJ Barnabas. Justin Edelman is here from Barnabas. Thank you, Justin. And Horizon, Blue Cross Blue Shield. We'll be offering health screenings, pet therapy, yoga, sound baths, all sorts of things. So please come. Friday at 8, we're going to welcome Frankie Valli back to the Arts Center. This is a program that was scheduled pre-pandemic. It has been rescheduled about 3 times. Frankie Valli is now, I think, 84 years old, but he is raring to go. And he will be here. And on Saturday night, Audra McDonald, who has won more Tony Awards than anybody in history, will be here with an evening of song. So let me introduce our panelists. Ari Fox is the Senior Director of Economic Development Programs at Audible's Global Center for Urban Development. Over his 9-year tenure at Audible, he's worked across several teams, including new ventures, content, and marketing. And before joining Audible, Ari worked as an attorney in private practice. Thank you for being here. Max Rettig is the Vice President for Public Policy and Social Impact at DoorDash, a technology company that connects consumers with their favorite local businesses in 27 countries around the globe. In this role, he oversees government relations, social impact, policy development, and public engagement. Previously, he worked at the White House as a senior advisor to the Deputy National Security Advisor and as an attorney advisor at the U.S. Department of State. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And you've come all the way from San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Great, thanks. and from Halsey Street. And the world as well, based on the breadth of his business. Justis Pitt-Goodson is the founder of the BrownMill streetwear clothing brand, which has a flagship store on Halsey Street, and he's also the leader of June's Tailoring. And if you've not been to his store, you should go to his store. It has an extraordinarily diverse and colorful and unique line of clothing. And I'm grateful that to lead today's discussion, we're joined by Tom Bergeron, the founder, editor, and co-owner of ROI-NJ, a digital and print outlet covering the world of business and politics in New Jersey. Tom has more than 3 decades of experience in journalism. He worked at The Ledger, Yahoo, NJ Biz, and some of you may have heard yesterday that Tucker Carlson was terminated at Fox News. A lot of people are wondering who will get that coveted 8 p.m. slot. And I can tell you here today, just don't tweet it out. It's going to be announced later. It's Tom. So congratulations, and I think a voice of moderation on Fox is a really useful thing these days. So anyway, we're grateful to Tom for leading us today. The floor is yours. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Am I on? Everybody hearing me? So I learned a long time ago, I learned actually from my daughter, the #1 trick to moderating, because we've all been at panels, is to move around. So if I move, your eyes have to stay with me. If I stay in one space, your eyes look everywhere else. So we're going to do this in an attempt to keep you guys engaged, but really these guys are going to be the engagement. I'm just leading the show. The goal today is to have sort of a backyard barbecue type discussion. We're just sitting around. We're going to talk about small business. We're going to talk about big tech. We're going to talk about cloud and e-commerce, all these fancy titles. Our hope is to interact with you, so we're going to do a little bit. Then we're going to throw it out to you and try to bring it there. So to start, instead of doing the long-winded introductions, I'm going to go to each person and give them a chance to talk a little bit about what you're doing. I'm going to start with my friend Max, who's all excited because he's finally in a tech city. He came to Newark with all of the dark fiber and said, finally, I can see what big tech is about. So Max, let's kick with you sort of the first comment. Let's talk about DoorDash, and let's talk about what it's doing for small business.
Great. Well, I'm going to start by going way back, 10 years back to our founding as a company. Our CEO and our co-founder, his name's Tony Xu. He came to the U.S. when he was 5 years old. Classic immigrant story. Family came with $200 in their pocket. His dad came to the U.S. to study. His mom ended up working 3 jobs at a time to help the family get by. And Tony grows up working alongside his mom at one of her jobs. She was helping manage a restaurant, and he's washing dishes, doing odd jobs around the restaurant, and that gives him a front row seat to what it's like to make a small business work. And he sees all the challenges and the hardships and the joys that come with that. Fast forward, he's getting ready, wants to start a business, wants to do something to help small business owners and operators like his mom, but he doesn't know exactly what to do. So he goes and he talks to different business owners, and he hears from them time and time again that they're getting all these orders for delivery, but they're turning them away because there aren't enough orders and they're not consistent enough that it makes sense for them to hire somebody. Well, that's the genesis of the idea for DoorDash. How can we make it possible for small businesses? We started with restaurants, but the ambition is for every single local business to have an e-commerce channel and the ability to offer delivery. And that's really what we're building as a company. So we're best known for restaurants, but increasingly it's any kind of local brick and mortar store that you will find on DoorDash, and we are giving them the e-commerce channel and the ability to offer delivery so they can compete in this era where really every business is expected by consumers to be able to get you the thing that you want to your door quickly. We're really proud of a couple of programs that we've created, our accelerator programs, which are really an extension of our mission to help local businesses. We have an accelerator program for local restaurants, and we have an accelerator program for basically retail businesses. We're really excited that both of these have touched New Jersey and the Newark community. The idea is we give these small businesses, predominantly businesses owned by women, people of color, and immigrants, grants, access to instruction, and now access to reusable packaging, bringing climate into our support for local entrepreneurs. And we try to build up this community of entrepreneurs so that small businesses really can thrive.
Awesome. First lesson of the day. How many people knew that DoorDash did more than just food? For how many people is DoorDash that line on your credit card from your kids? It's like $86.
Worth every penny.
And it's always alliteration. It's Henry's Hoagies, it's Willie's Weenie Dogs or something like that. You know that it was ordered at 2:14 in the morning. You're like, $86, what are we doing here? So no, DoorDash is a lot more than that. If we learn anything else from today, let's learn the education about all the stuff they can do there. Speaking of education, how many people know that Audible is about more than just audio books? Right? We all get that. All right, we paper the crowd with half the Audible crowd, so that's good. There'll be no test on that later. But let me go to Ari. Give us a little bit about what Audible is doing and how it's connected to small business and where you're going with this.
Yeah, sure. So hopefully everyone who is based in Newark has seen Audible's buildings, but just in case you don't know, Audible is the leading provider and creator of premium audio storytelling. We've always wanted to create resiliency and prosperity and equality for all residents in the communities we are based in. So it's why we moved to Newark in 2007 to be part of the renaissance of this great city. And in 2020, we launched the Global Center for Urban Development, whose mission it is to advance equity, racial justice, and economic empowerment. We do that through direct community and economic investments. We support small businesses, we support tech companies, we support the local creative class in the cities that we call home. Particularly our big focus of ours is Newark, because that's our headquarters, that's where we have the largest employee base. And our aim is to drive foot traffic, to create jobs, to sustain businesses.
If anybody knows anything about Audible in Newark, I mean, for years, there hasn't been a company that's done more to embrace Newark and say, we're not just going to move here, we're going to embrace it. We're going to give our employees reasons to live here, reasons to shop here. We want to be part of the Newark economic business ecosystem, so what you're doing is great. So all of this stuff looks great, right? We can talk about all of these big picture things that we're going to do and how we're going to help cities and how we're going to help small business owners. But we brought a small business owner up here to tell us, does this actually work? So Justis, give us a background on what your company is, what you're doing, how you're selling, how you're marketing this and that. Here's your elevator speech, but we're going to give you 3 minutes, not 30 seconds. Go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all for being here, first and foremost. It's a great opportunity to showcase what we're doing at BrownMill. A little bit about my story and BrownMill's story. I started off in 8th grade making bow ties and ties. I've always had a knack for entrepreneurship, kind of fashion. So got to a point after selling candy, sneakers, and all types of stuff in middle school, I was like, let me figure out how to make a bow tie. I don't know what it was, but just bow ties. And a tutor of mine at the time let me borrow a sewing machine, and I started making these bow ties in my house. And when I made my first one, you couldn't tell me anything. It was like gold. Looking back, they were pure nothing. Frayed fabric, messed up pattern, but having the ability to create something on my own and market it and get support from it, from church members, family members, it was amazing. That's a little bit about how we started out. Over the years, throughout high school, college, kept developing the brand. Added on T-shirts, added on button-up shirts. Two of my business partners today are two guys I met in high school, Kwiku Ajamang and Taha Shamu. And they helped develop the brand with me along the way. I got to a point when I came to college here at Rutgers Newark that I was like, I'm going to put my all into this, and dropped out of school. My family was pretty upset about that, especially being that I had a full scholarship. My mom worked at Rutgers. They were like, this doesn't make sense, but I was like, I feel it in me.
For the kids in the audience, stay in school.
It just felt right.
Zuckerberg Jr. up here. Let's go. All right.
But when I dropped out, I had to drop in, and immediately, internship, apprenticeship. I was always in New York, always in Soho, Tribeca, just learning as much as I can from tailors, designers, business owners. All the while, COVID hit, And it was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And we started our online, really boosting online heavy, and opened our first store a couple years later here in downtown Newark. So that's a bit about our history as a brand. It's really been organic growth, community-based programming, community support behind us. But our intentions are to continue the business, expand the business, and expand the brand.
All right, starting a business, growing a business, all good, we all get it. Running a business, the operation, is the hard part. So I'm gonna take you back, and I'm gonna throw you a question. We didn't even talk about this before the show. I told you guys I'm gonna keep you on your toes. Your first sale ever, the first thing you sold, who'd you sell it to? Where'd it come from? Is this a out of the trunk of your car type of thing? Was this to your uncle who really didn't want it but felt sorry for you? Tell us the business star, what's your first sale?
My first sale is actually someone you guys might know, Jeffrey Robinson. I think he has a nice position at Rutgers now. I forget the exact position, but he was a huge supporter of what I was doing early on. He was actually a church member, that's how I met him. And he actually gave me a scholarship to go to one of his business symposiums when I was in 9th grade. And after that, it was like, all right, this is a new world for me. So now it wasn't only huge because it was my first business transaction, but the resources he provided, the knowledge that he gave me was just instrumental in our growth. So it was a sale, but also a lot more than that.
All right, so let's talk about e-commerce and selling. Everybody gets it. Oh, you just put it on the web, you just sell everything, it's all good. But you need help, you need help support. Yeah. We're gonna science and go to, we have one slide we wanna show. This is a big moment. There it is. BrownMill Company, and everybody look at the little logo. We got DoorDash on the top. Let's talk about how you got from A to Z. This is probably about Q in that journey. To get this online site, right? We've talked about helping small business. Talk about this site and what that's meant for your business.
Absolutely. Like I said before, during COVID, even before this partnership, it was instrumental for us to connect and engage with our audience, and even a new audience, digitally. COVID was huge for a lot of small businesses because you couldn't do face-to-face transactions anymore. If you had a brick and mortar, I'm sure that was painful. So we had to get innovative and pivot, and that was a huge part of it. With the platform that DoorDash provides, it's instrumental to get our products to people in other places. It's an opportunity for us to engage with customers that wouldn't know about us otherwise. So Eli, I think he's here somewhere from the DoorDash team. He's been instrumental in onboarding us with this process. My brother Elijah, he runs our store. They've been working a lot in this. Actually, we're working on a rollout for the partnership in the next couple of weeks to advertise and promote it heavily. So really excited about this and what it means to our business.
So Max, let me let you jump in here. I'm going to call this your baby, whether it is or not. This is DoorDash product. You got to have a lot of pride to see that coming up there. Talk about how you're helping an individual company here and everywhere to create. I mean, this is a huge stepping stone for a small business to get to this part. DoorDash is making it happen. Talk about the impetus for that.
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting. So we often see trends that only move in one direction. And an example of that, during the pandemic, consumers began to expect more than ever that the thing that they want will show up at their door within days, but even better, within minutes. And so every small business has to have an e-commerce channel and has to have a way to be able to offer delivery. I mean, to Justis's credit, and you and your team, I think you've seen this and you've been investing in it, you've been creating it. But for a lot of small business owners, whether it's a restaurant or retail or grocery, that's not your superpower. That's not the thing that you were dreaming about when you were dreaming of starting a business. And there's a lot that goes into it. When I was on the outside before I had joined DoorDash, I thought, this is a sort of a silly food app. What could possibly go into this? But once you're inside the business, you see how much engineering and logistics and operations it takes to do this. So to level the playing field and make all of that technology and logistics and just the power of the platform, the marketing, available to every local business, that is really the fulfillment of our original vision as a company. And so it's really exciting to see it come to fruition in the form of this website. And small businesses, local businesses still account for 2/3 of job creation. And so if you're talking about economic vitality and the vibrancy of local communities, you have to be talking about how you are going to be investing in local small businesses, because those are the drivers of economic growth. And so this is a part in that broader economic vitality story that we get to play.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic, like, accelerated online shopping, right?
Right.
We all know that, and companies, small businesses who are able to be online and take advantage of that have, I think, been more successful than they would have been, and so it's good to have tools like this to support those small businesses.
You know, I was going to mention, because Audible, as many of you know, is owned by Amazon. Amazon might think about doing this small business
Just a little,
thing.
just a
That
little bit.
might be a whole nother business model.
I mean, Amazon has a huge proportion. I don't have the stats, but a huge proportion of Amazon's third-party sellers are local businesses, small businesses, Black. They have a big effort for Black-owned businesses and others.
So let's talk, Ari and Max here, about getting to that point, right? How do you, it's great. You go to Halsey Street, you got Justis, that's great. You could get his neighbor. We could go to Des Moines, Iowa. We could go to Melbourne, Australia. This is a pretty big market for you guys to get into when you say helping small businesses. Talk a little bit about how that happens. What's the connection? Is someone emailing you and say, hey, I need help? Do you have outreach? How are you guys building this small business thing? Max, I'll start with you and then I'll go to Art.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both directions. I mean, there's a huge effort within DoorDash to reach out to different types of businesses. But over time, I think you see more and more that small businesses get it. They get that they need to have this e-commerce channel. They get that they need to be able to offer delivery. And so there's more and more inbound as well. And it is a huge investment that we are making as a company to also market to consumers. Tons of resources go into making sure that consumers know that you can not only find your local restaurant, maybe a big enterprise restaurant, McDonald's, but you can also find BrownMill. So it's got to be in both directions, and we also have to do the hard work to make sure that customers know that they can find the retail establishment, any kind of local business in their community on DoorDash, and that ultimately helps us as a business, and it helps local business owners as well.
Global Center for Urban Development. That's beautiful names. Right? Well, we're global. But look, anybody knows Audible knows you're Newark too, right? Talk about what you're doing to help the ecosystem in Newark specifically, the hometown that Audible cares so much about.
Yeah, I mean, we have a number of different programs that we've launched over the years. I'll give you an example about Newark Working Kitchens, which we launched really as a direct response to the pandemic. The pandemic devastated the small businesses, particularly the local restaurant economy.
Hold on one second. Is everyone familiar with Newark Working Kitchens? So ROI has described this as the single best pandemic program that was ever created. And it's not even close. It's not even close. So explain to what you guys do here. This is brilliant.
Sure. So we launched this program in April of 2020. We paid restaurants $10 a meal to stay open, to keep their staff, to feed nutritious meals to the city's most vulnerable residents to help combat food insecurity, particularly during a time when residents were sheltering in place. They couldn't go out and get food. To date, we have served over 1.5 million meals through these restaurants and have spent over $15 million in the local economy.
You guys can clap now.
It was so successful that as a model, it was replicated by the NJPAC across the state as their Sustain and Serve program, which has funded over $50 million to similar programs. And small businesses confided in us that without this support, they would not have survived the pandemic. In last summer, we pivoted the program to be less of a disaster relief model, more of a long-term sustainability program called NWK Delivers, which allows for corporate employees to order lunch through an app built for the program from a selection of restaurants that participate in the program. Orders get batched together, delivered to the office in one go, and so restaurant owners can get consistent level of ordering, they can plan for it, and then there's better unit economics because they're not doing one-off deliveries to individuals, but they're doing batch deliveries to one location. And it's super easy to use. It's super easy for companies to onboard to the program. Companies can choose to subsidize meals. They can do it in part. They can do it in full. As an example, Audible subsidizes $18 a day for for employees to order lunch from local restaurants. And then as an additional bonus, Audible, for every meal that an Audible employee orders, Audible donates another meal through these restaurants to Newark residents in need to continue to combat food insecurity. I guess I'm going to ask the audience, be moderator for a second. How many people have lunch subsidized in some way in Newark? Well, the Audible folks should be raising their hands. I mean, come on.
So you guys are working for the wrong company.
Right, seriously, come on to Audible. How many people order lunch on a regular basis when they're in the office? Okay, so that's a little bit better, Well, I urge you all to take this back to your companies. If you're a company, reach out to me at nwk@audible.com. It's really important for companies to be signing on to this program so that we can continue to also support these local restaurants, which are a critical part of a vibrant community in this city.
I think it's important to note at a business type event, just trying to talk about the business ecosystem of what's going on here. One of the reasons why this program is so successful is not just that we're bringing meals to people who might be food insecure. It's keeping the dollars within Newark, within the system. You're keeping restaurants going, you're keeping people employed, you're doing all of that. Barry Ostrowski, who was on the board here for years and is one of the true leaders of the state, always said, he goes, if New Jersey could take 1 year, if we just took 1 year, let alone 1 week or 1 month, and made every New Jersey company only do business with a New Jersey company, he goes, it would be unbelievable the amount of financial ecosystem we could have going around the state here. So that's one of the reasons why this program is so good, aside from doing the wonderful thing of feeding people who need it. It's helping the business grow. Programs are great. There's a lot of programs. The pandemic, you have someone here from the EDA, they were throwing out programs left and right. But do they work, right? Everyone's going to say, oh yeah, we do all this, it's great. That's why we got Justis here, to hold these guys to accountability. The assistance you're getting here, right? I mean, you're making the bow ties, you're finding the good fabric, you're trying to figure out what's stylish, you're trying to use social media. You don't have time to do the business end. Are these programs helping you get to the next level and taking some stress and release off of you as a business owner?
No, absolutely. Like you said, accountability is important. I think they are, absolutely. All of us know, especially this front table here, that running a small business is a lot. You're running 12 departments at once, whether it be design, logistics, social media outreach, mail outreach. It's a lot. That's the reality of it, and that's the fight we choose to fight. But yes, the partnerships we've had with Audible, with Prudential, Newark Alliance, DoorDash, they've served us well. They've allowed us to do customers come in, give outreach to us. More specifically, we had a partnership with Audible where they helped us develop the Newark market back in November and December of last year. That was an opportunity to bring on other entrepreneurs and showcase them in a market format over a 5-week period here in Newark. They were gracious enough to help with organization, the funding, all aspects of it, and outreach. That was very impactful for our business, the businesses that were involved. Hopefully something that can continue. But all the programs that we've been a part of, that they've been gracious enough to help us out with have been impactful for us.
I should have worn our sweatshirt, right?
Yeah, and also we collaborated on a piece as well, BrownMill Audible hoodie and a t-shirt.
Would have been underdressed though. So.
Yeah.
Ari, I want to stay with you because for those who know Audible was about social justice and economic empowerment before anyone had heard those phrases, right? We all started hearing those about 3 years ago. It's like, oh, maybe we should actually try to make things fair for people. Like, Audible was on that train a long time ago, right? You've been with the company a long time.
Yep.
Talk about the pride you feel in the idea of what you're doing isn't just bottom line, isn't just helping one business. You're trying to make a societal impact here at Audible. I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about that.
Yeah, I can sort of take it very personally and say that I've been at Audible, as you all know now, I've been at Audible for almost 10 years, held a number of different positions across the company. Audible has always had this ethos around volunteerism. It's a very important part of what all of our employees do. We call it Activate Caring. It's part of our performance appraisals. But it was always in my mind, while it was a piece of me as an individual employee, it wasn't sort of central to my ethos. Back at the end of 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer. in remission now, so it's all good. But when I came back to work after being out for a while, dealing with treatment, I decided that I wanted to dedicate myself more to service. And I was lucky in that Audible has a whole division and the Global Center for Urban Development, which focuses purely on social impact and economic impact. And they said, sure, we could use someone like you, come on in. And now I get to work with, continue working with an amazing company. I didn't have to move to a nonprofit to do this work and feel good about what I do every day. And the work for us, Audible, it's important. We want this city in particular to be resilient, to be vibrant. And we're doing, we're supporting small businesses because, as Max said, they're the backbone, and as Justis knows, they're the backbone of any vibrant community. When they're doing well, they send ripples of positive impact across the city. They're job creators, they pay taxes, they buy local, they drive foot traffic. And in particular, and where sort of Audible thinks about this from like an equity perspective, small businesses, particularly ones with founders of color, have systemic barriers to success. It makes sustaining a business and growing a business challenging, particularly in times of disruption like a pandemic. And so if we can support these small businesses, we can create opportunities for meaningful savings, credit building, property ownership, and generational wealth building, which studies show is really missing.
That's a great point. I'm going to follow up in a second, but I want to go to my friend Max here, because when we talk about what we can do to help society, and we can talk about making access to loans and making access to websites, there's other hidden things that you can do that people don't realize. And the one thing you talked about briefly, I want you to go into a little bit more, the sustainability issue, right? Nobody in here said, oh, I'm going to see DoorDash. They're the sustainability company, right? Raise your hand if you had that on your bingo card, right? But DoorDash is trying to use their role as a global business power to do good for the world. Has nothing to do with the bottom line. Nothing. But it's good for the planet. So talk about that program.
I'd actually argue that these things can be mutually reinforcing. So kind of an initial point is we're a San Francisco-based company. We operate in 27 countries around the world. Great, very exciting, but my mantra whenever I'm talking to folks internally, and we have to be known as the local company wherever we operate. We want to be the Newark company in Newark, the San Francisco company in San Francisco, because that's core to our business, right? Like our business is all about growing and empowering local economies, so it has to start there. And that means that we have to be thinking about how we're going to make the business work, how it's going to work for merchants, how it's going to work for Dashers, how it's going to work for consumers, and then we have to be thinking about the community impact. So the community impact can be hunger. We have this huge program called Project Dash, which is basically DoorDash for food banks. Food banks can then get their food delivered, groceries delivered to their clients, instead of clients having to come and line up for 3 hours, which was huge during the pandemic, and it's just unfortunately skyrocketed because of the need. And now sustainability comes into that as well. There's a big footprint that our platform creates, right? The delivery is a carbon-intensive enterprise, but we have really exciting programs that work for Dashers, work for DoorDash, work for consumers. So how can we get more Dashers onto e-bikes so that they can deliver quickly, they can deliver efficiently, they can deliver with fewer or maybe zero emissions? That's great for all parts of the ecosystem. I mentioned at the top that as part of our newest accelerator program launching in New York and New Jersey for local restaurants, we are partnering with a company called Deliver Zero so that restaurants can use sustainable packaging and reduce the impact of each delivery. Ultimately, for local communities to be vibrant, there has to be that economic vitality, but we have to be working on climate and sustainability as well, because all of these things ultimately fit together, and you can't have one without the other.
Justis, I'm going to go to you. We're going to switch gears here. You started your business here on Halsey Street. I know you went to school briefly in Newark.
Yeah.
But you could open the business anyway. You chose Newark. Talk about the decision to open in Newark. There are challenges to open in a city in Newark. There are challenges for a person of color to start a business.
Yeah.
Talk about the idea of how that started and what assistance you got, And did you make the right call to be in Newark? And I'm hoping you're going to say yes here.
No, absolutely. I went to school at Rutgers Newark for business. Had a great time there, learned a lot there, but I was also very active downtown in the arts kind of district. And I remember walking on Halsey Street, actually right in front of Plantivia. I don't know if the owner of Plantivia is here, and saying, man, I'd love to have a store here. Love to have a store. This was probably 2016. As time went on, fell in love with the city. I stayed here, met my partner, had a child here, and just became a real community member here. And it just seemed fitting. Already, developed a grassroots community around us. I felt authentic. For us to go to New York, it just didn't seem right. It's a very saturated, economy for, arts and clothing. But
just to interject here, New Jersey, yes. New York, no. For those of you scoring at home, just a reminder. Go ahead.
And I also used to intern at Newark CEDC, which is the Economic Development Corporation here. So I knew, the potential of Newark just by kind of listening in on conferences and being aware. So, it was a big talk with my team, about our decision to open up a storefront in general, let alone where it was going to be. But we decided, we had a strong, community that supported us here. It's a growing city. For us to, take advantage of COVID rental rates, I think it would have been best to move here. But I'm glad we did. The community has been super, supportive of us. The community organizations have been super supportive of us. And I look to stay here as well, at least for our flagship store, over the next, 10, 15, 20 years. I think we make, a lot of impact culturally for our block and the city. We intend to continue to add value to the culture here.
Talk more about the connection. I see Chip from the Newark Business Partnership here. I see my friends from PNC and Bank of America out there. These guys are helping you out. There's a lot. It seems like Newark, more than a lot of cities, really, it's a group of people coming together trying to rise everybody. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a big push, especially over the last 4 to 5 years, especially for business, business of color, small businesses to thrive. I know that we're developing something on Halsey Street for black businesses to be more in the forefront and develop. But there's been a lot of support between LISC, GNEC, for a lot of the small businesses in the area, and Newark Alliance, of course, to thrive and get more exposure and access to capital, which is super important, and resources.
We're going to open this to questions soon, so get them ready. And I should have planted someone. I'm going to ask Jason from PNC, who's going to be forced to ask the first question because nobody wants to ask the first one. So be ready. It's going to be on you. Let's talk a little bit more about developing in a small business atmosphere, right? Let's open it up to all of you guys. What do you see when you see small business, DoorDash? There's all of these opportunities where you can help them. Where do you start first?
So one of our core values as a company is you gotta listen to your customers. So that's really where it starts. I mean, and if you go back to our founding, it started with our CEO talking to local business owners, and we talk about that all the time internally because we don't always know. I mean, most of us are based in cities around the country, but we're trying to serve urban businesses, rural businesses, suburban businesses, and the needs of one business might be really different from the needs of the next business. It might be different because of the size of the business or the type of the business, or do they have their own marketing channels or don't they have their own marketing channels? What we're trying to do as a company is build a suite of products and services so that business owners can mix and match based on what works for them. Maybe you already have a great website and you're driving tons of traffic to it. What you really need is just the ability to offer local delivery. Great, we can just plug you into that part of our business. Maybe you have no online presence at all and you need all of the eyeballs that are coming to DoorDash.com. Great, we can plug you into that part of the business. And then we can develop price points that make sense for your business depending on what you need. It's all still a work in progress, but it's all about listening to the customer. It's the reason we have a program called WeDash, where every employee of the company does at least one delivery a month. And we're increasingly trying to make sure that everybody has the ability to have a front row seat at a local business. So you get what it takes to run that local business and you can understand the needs of those business owners or the dashers or any part of the ecosystem.
Ari, I'm going to go to you. You guys are the global center, right? You're seeing things from around the world. You're seeing things from around the country and around the area. What do you see small business needing in a big way that you guys are able to bring?
I mean, we're not a online retailer in the same way that we can sort of support small businesses in that way, although of course Amazon does. But we can leverage our expertise, right? So we have a huge employee base with functional expertise across a wide range of topics, from technical, operations, marketing. So we have a program called Small Business Pathways, which will provide a small business owner based here in Newark for up to 12 weeks of support with a squad of functional experts to help them achieve a business goal or solve a problem. As an example, we've helped we're helping a small business, a small local restaurant actually build a website with our engineering team. We are helping a Black female-owned hair and beauty company with their social media strategy and execution. So there's lots of ways that we can support small businesses, and what's nice about Newark as a community is there's actually lots of resources for small businesses to get access to. You know, Rutgers has a business resource center and a program. The NJPAC has an e-commerce support program to get matched up to even help build the website. There's Audible, and all of these opportunities kind of sometimes come organically, whether it be directly through a small business that knows of us and asks for help, or a connection through Invest Newark or through the EDA that says, "Hey, Audible, can you support these companies?" And we're like, "Yes, absolutely. Let's see what we can do."
Justis, I'm going to go to you real quick before I go to the audience. Because I said something that I've said for 10 years and someone finally corrected me on it. I said, well, the biggest issue for people in underserved communities is access to capital. How many people have heard that phrase? The biggest issue is access to capital. And the guy said, nah, that's not the issue at all. The issue is access to affordable capital. Anybody can get capital. It's access to affordable capital. So look, these programs are great, but you also need capital. How has that been through loans and grants and banks? So you feel like you have access to affordable capital, something that the loan of which someone said, look, you get a small business, the difference between an extra $100 a month on the payback is brutal.
Yeah.
Are you getting access to the affordable capital that you need in this city?
Yes. Yes, we have. I'm not going to get detailed, but yeah. But there's been a lot of, like I said before, there's been a lot of different programs that have been presented to us through the city and the organizations of the city for access to capital and resources, and yeah, they've been affordable for our business model. But I can't say that for everybody. That's not everyone's reality. So I'd be just in saying that, but yeah, it's been good.
All right, questions from the floor. We can take jokes. We can take comments. Yes,
Jokes.
Hi. I found it very...
Wait for the mic real quick. Sorry, there you go.
Thank you. Hi. I really found this very instructive, and the type of outreach that both companies are doing is really phenomenal. I did want to address my question, though, to Ari, as it relates to the Global Center. How is this good for business? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely.
For your business.
For Audible. I guess I'll say one thing about how it's good for business. Particularly this day and age, employees have the ability to work really anywhere, right? Particularly in the remote world. But they want to come to a company that means something. And Audible is a company that tries to exemplify that you can mean more than what it does, right? So we're more than just a retailer and creator of audio storytelling, and employees want to know that their companies stand for something and that they can be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so that's one way that it's good for business.
I would imagine, Ari and Max, the idea that your company does stand for something else. So the recruitment issue, I mean, that's got to be one of the first questions that people come into on a job interview is, what are you doing for the communities you serve, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to work for a mission-oriented company, and there are any number of different missions that a company can adopt, but I think that absolutely people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They know that their code is going to translate into a small business being able to make rent, make payroll, expand to another location. So I think that is very powerful. I think for us, I mean, we accept that there's a certain level of, this may not translate directly to the bottom line, but it is part of our mission to run an accelerator program or power deliveries for food banks. I think that every company does have a certain responsibility to figure out what its superpower is and then apply that superpower to help make the communities that it serves better and stronger.
And it's more than that too. Like we as a company also, when we're interviewing someone, want to make sure that they're mission driven, and that it's not just about that they're going to adopt what we're trying to do as well. So it's a two-way street.
That's a great point. Yes, ma'am.
This is really, really fantastic and inspiring. So thank you all. And I've already been on the website and buying my holiday gifts for my team. But we need more red tote bags.
Which holiday? Any holiday. Mother's Day, Father's
We
Day.
celebrate all year long. On the discussion around mission focused, my question is for each of you or either of you, how do you bring that to life in your culture? You just hit on one thing, which is recruiting and bringing in people that care about the mission focus, but how do you bring your unique culture to life within the organization?
Well, there are different elements of our culture, right? There is a mission-driven element, and we frequently talk about our mission and our founding story, and I think that kind of pervades through our culture. We have corporate values beyond kind of our core mission that we also espouse and that really try to anchor the entire company, which is, at this point, a big, distributed, very diverse workforce around a set of values that kind of guide how we interact with each other. I talked about one of them earlier in the presentation, really being customer obsessed. How do we make sure that we're serving Dashers? How do we make sure that we're serving merchants? How do we make sure that we're serving customers? Another is 1% better every day. So we've done a lot in our 10-year history, but we know that we've got a long, long way to go. I mean, every time I have a new ordering experience on DoorDash, I'm simultaneously really, really excited. Oh, it's amazing. We can finally order this great new clothing line on DoorDash. But then you go into the customer experience like, oh, this could be better in 1,000 different ways. And so keeping really focused on that 1% better value is also really, really core to who we are as a company and how we're serving our customers.
For us, aside from our product, our programming is essential. Expressing, what we stand for through our programming has always been, at the forefront of our brick and mortar business model. Newark is a developing city. Foot traffic is volatile, so we can't really rely too much on the day-to-day transactions to power, our success as a business. So the programming that we do has been essential, whether it be, every first Friday we do a game night that, empowers nightlife or something to do for, local college students and also young professionals. Every year we do an anniversary block party. This year's June 24th with Halsey Fest. That empowers, the community aspect where, half the day is dedicated toward family and, kids activities, but also a DJ contest. We sponsor an urban farm here in Newark, South 20th Street. That speaks to, the food aspect and providing fresh food to the community. So we really can't do it on a huge scale, like my friends here can do it, but on a local level, thinking globally, acting locally has been important for us through programming and partnerships. We do basketball games in summertime just to get people active and, bring in other partners. A lot of the things that we do to add value is, program-based, so it's really essential for us.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of different things to help continue to build this community as a vibrant community, as an equitable community. We're launching a whole number of activations across, the park that's up the road in Audible's office. We programmed the holiday market with BrownMill this past holiday season, and we're also trying to build a tech and innovation ecosystem here with all the work that's already going on with Newark Venture Partners and Hex Capital and NJIT, and particularly focused on an equitable tech and innovation ecosystem. So trying to attract other founders of color or female founders to come into this community and help curate what this community could look like. And we're doing that through, actually going back to your point about capital, we're doing that by providing capital to these companies that are looking to expand in Newark or relocate to Newark. We're offering up to $250,000 over 2 years to help these companies cover lease costs, fit out, relocation costs. We are providing them with mentorship and support so that they succeed here.
Say that number again.
$250,000 over 2 years, and that's non-dilutive capital. It's not a loan, it's not equity, it is a pure grant, and it's tied to job creation. So it's not Audible's not looking for a return on investment, we're looking for a return on economic impact. And so want to make sure that these companies are bringing in jobs, that they're growing jobs, they're hiring locally, so we're offering cash incentives for them to hire locally as well. And that will continue to build this ecosystem, which will make everyone more prosperous.
Just a programming note, we're going to take a couple more questions, but when we're done, we're going to have a contest to see who won the sock game here. I think Ari would get
I tried to match my shirt.
That's pretty good.
Subtle, but it's good.
You guys don't wear ties anymore, so we have to challenge each other on who's got the best socks. Yes, miss.
I just wanted to go back to one of the questions asked earlier about why does Audible support the community so much? And when I'm not at Invest Newark, my other hat is I'm co-founder of a walking tour company, Have You Met Newark, that's been here for 10 years. And Audible was our first corporate client ever. Now we work with a lot of corporations to get people out into the neighborhood and learn about their area. So a lot of the businesses that we visit on those tours with new Audible hires are places that Audible has supported through Newark Working Kitchens. We go to BrownMill, and it creates a place that people want to work. So one of the benefits to companies doing things like what Audible's doing is it creates a place where there's cool, innovative small businesses that people want to be around when they go to work every day. So I just want to kind of the business case for what they're doing. It just is talent attraction, talent retention, recruitment. And it's just they're creating a place that they want to be too, right? So I just wanted to mention that. Such an important thing that they're doing.
Other questions? This side of the room. Yes, miss.
Hi, my name is Laura Jennings-Pitt. I work with Prevention is Key. We do recovery support services, and we actually hold the grant for the Essex County Community Peer Recovery Center, CPRIC. And so my question is, I've heard about so many resources that you guys are using, and there's 4 pillars of recovery, right? Home, health, community, and sense of purpose. And a really important part of sense of purpose is a lot of the stuff you guys have been talking about today with pathways to success and wealth building and entrepreneurship. And I wonder if there's any resources that any of your companies offer that I can bring back to our Essex County staff and say, you need to get these in the hands of the people we work with who are pursuing long-term recovery and are in long-term recovery and looking for ways to stay there, right? Are there things that you guys offer here in Newark or in Essex County or around the world that I could bring back to my team as resources? I'd love to hear about them.
You hear the 250,000? No, seriously, guys.
Well, so thanks for the question. You're speaking more of individuals, right? Not businesses, but people. So Audible actually.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry?
They're not businesses.
They're not businesses yet, right? So I mean, part of it is there's sort of two ways I want to answer the question. One is from a business perspective. There's capacity building, right? There's trainings and there's lots of classes that these individuals can take to become entrepreneurs, and there's plenty of those resources in Newark to support. And there's even funding available from NJEDA if you as income replacement, if you want to become an entrepreneur and launch a business. So there's lots of those sort of resources around. Audible can also potentially support from our Small Business Pathways program to help them write business plan and sort of get that up to speed. From an individual perspective, if they're looking for like careers, Audible has a number of programs. That we have our returnship program where they're coming back from a gap in employment, or our workforce development program called Cornerstone, where we work with partners in the community, particularly in Newark, to hire individuals who have high employment barriers. And we train them and we bring them onto a customer service role at Audible.
Yes, miss.
Hi, my name is Lavinia. I'm the CEO of Brick City Pets. I have 3 questions, one for each of you.
All right.
The first one.
It's only two questions per customer.
They're short. DoorDash. So I've already checked you out. I see that Petco.
Yeah.
You're doing all right. So how do I, as a small business, compete on DoorDash against Petco? That's your question. Justis, social media, right? Is a social media manager worth it at this point to establish myself, or should I just let it grow organically, right? Ari, I can relate to you. I live with cancer. It's not terminal, but I supposedly will have it for the rest of my life, so I understand your situation. Now, with Newark Delivers, most of the families a lot of the families that have food insecurities also have pets, and that's my market. How do I tap into that so that you're not only taking care of the humans, you're taking care of the pets that provide comfort to these families?
That's a great question.
Justis, you go first.
Absolutely. One thing that I'm big on is the separation between business and brand. They help each other, but they are not the same thing. So from the start of BrownMill until now, brand has been its own separate focus in development, and the business aspect, the brick and mortar, or the sales aspect have benefited from that. So when it comes to social media, we use that as a tool like no other. We really rely on that for a lot. Whether it be through photo shoots, putting up flyers of things that we have going on, strategic outreach to celebrities and clients. I would say, a social media manager at the beginning of development of social media is essential. I know that it's an investment, but sometimes there's ways to get around that. When we first started with our social media manager, they were an intern from Rutgers for a 3-month period. And then after that, they onboarded. We started paying them and got another one. So something that we've organically worked through. But I would definitely, to any small business, say that social media manager is essential. They can help with scheduling. They can help with development of the captions, the taste level. Ads, Instagram and social media ads have been essential for us as well. It's too much to manage social media as a business owner. I don't even have the sign-in for the Round on Instagram. So, I would definitely agree.
Petco, Chewy, all the best.
Pets, great. It's this incredibly exciting category. If you'll kind of allow me to potentially give you false information, I think that the number 1 most ordered item is crickets or something like that. I think it's
delicious.
Yeah, I don't think, not in our restaurant category, in our pets category. I think of DoorDash as a great equalizer, right? Let's get you online, let's get you right there next to Petco or whatever other store, and then people will be able to have a choice. There are reasons that people order from Petco, but there may be really good reasons that they want to order from the local business, that they know you, they know your store, they know that they are supporting something that's really local in their communities. And you're going to have the same technology, the same logistics network as Petco, which has however many hundreds or thousands of locations and a huge staff. So I really think about it as a great equalizer. To the previous question about opportunities that are available to individuals, dashing can be a great way for people to kind of create a financial bridge to whatever is next for them. On average, people work about 3 hours per week on a delivery. So they can earn little bits of income at a time. It's really, really fast and easy to get on. People can often get from sign up to actually doing deliveries in a day or a few days. So really low barrier to entry. People do it for supplemental income, and it can be a great way to earn some extra money as you're figuring out what's next for you.
Food for pets. I love that. I think that's great because pets are as important to people as anything. If anyone has seen the Ukrainian videos, has anyone seen that? The people that are taking care of all the pets in the Ukraine. I mean, God bless those people. Unbelievable. And for what you're doing. So now it's on your back, Ari. How are we going to feed?
How are we going to feed the pets?
Aside from the crickets, right? We got fish, we got dogs, we got cats. What are you doing?
So first of all, I do want to say that if you do need support for your small business, like don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to give you my business card, and we can talk through how I can connect you with a squad of Audible employees to work with social media as a question, as an example. Pets is definitely not something we've explored yet. I'll be honest, but it doesn't hurt to take these ideas and think through it. So thank you for that.
Timeline check. It is 10 o'clock. We're respectful of your time. If you guys have a 10:15 and you're not going to bother us if you head out, we're going to do about 10 more minutes, maybe a little bit, and we'll do some post-event networking.
My question's for Ari. How does Audible select those small businesses or entrepreneurs with whom they're going to get a squad for or help financially? Is there like a qualitative team that looks at pitch, or is there, how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So we go through an intake process, making sure, firstly, that the business is based in Newark. We're definitely focused on helping founders of color, female founders, but that's not a specific hard requirement. And then we just want to make sure that we can actually support you. And then if we can support you, we'll match you up with the right functional experts. It's as simple as that.
All right, one more, then we're going to do a lightning round. Yes, sir.
This is for Justis. So I just want to ask, especially being like a local business owner and whatnot, my question is more so about like pacing, especially in the beginning stages of your business, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs can tend to run at it and burn themselves out and not necessarily work as efficiently as they need to. So I want to hear about just, I guess, maybe advice or your story a little bit in that first 3 to 5 year period of pacing and whatnot.
Absolutely. Great question, first and foremost. Team has been essential for me. From the get-go, knowing that you can't do it by yourself, having the reality of that is important. But a lot of times, for small businesses, it is a one-man and one-lady show. But how do you pivot, innovate, within that? How can you get interns, staffing? How can you outsource, get third-party servicing? When you have the ability to have a clearer head and think big, clear thoughts, that's where the change occurs. And making sure that you're doing the work that matters as a CEO, as a founder, is essential. That's something I am learning even currently how to do better, making sure I'm doing the work that matters. But as far as pace and burnout, that's kind of like something it's relative. You have to understand your own capacity for pace, timing, discipline, structure for yourself to be able to judge and balance that. But if you're focusing on that now, that's important. That it's conscious in your head, because running a small business is not easy, but it's very rewarding.
All right, we're going to do a lightning round. I'm going to give these guys a choice of 2 questions. They only know one of them, but I'm going to offer a second one. One is, if you are small business, e-commerce, whatever of the day, how would you change things? What's one thing that you would change to make things better? The other alternative question would be, tell the audience one thing about small business and e-commerce that we haven't mentioned that they don't know that's really cool to do. So I'm going to give you 2. Max, I'm going to start with you. You can be czar of the day or you can be advisor of the day. Which do you choose?
I'll be czar of the day in part because you gave that question to us in advance, and I was able to give a little bit of thought. I would exercise my power to be czar of the day to change the laws of economics. I would allow small businesses to take advantage of economies of scale the way that big businesses do. And you can't actually change the laws of economics, but that would be sort of my North Star. How do you, right, like we talk about DoorDash as the equalizer, as the way to give every small business the power of this logistics network and the millions of customers and all of that. But there are things like purchasing power that small businesses just don't have the way that big businesses do. A local restaurant on our platform is not going to pay the same for meat or vegetables or whatever ingredient as a big enterprise restaurant does. And that's just a fundamental disadvantage that small businesses have. And there are a whole variety of policies that I would want elected officials at the federal, state, and local levels thinking about to figure out how to level the playing field. And there are only so many tools at policymakers' disposal, but can you figure out a way to make the tax structure advantage small businesses so that that can help level the playing field? Or are there small business programs that we could scale up dramatically to help level the playing field? So that's what I would fundamentally try to change.
Ari, go to you. Czar of the day, advisor of the day. What do you say? What say you?
We should actually even just open this up to the audience. I'm curious what people would say too. But I'll take Czar of the day. I guess first I'd want to say that Mayor Baraka and Deputy Mayor Ladd in the city are doing tremendous job in supporting small businesses, supporting the creative community in Newark. But I think this goes back to sort of what we talked about before, that there's just not enough funding to go around to support these small businesses. And in particular, when you have companies like Audible and others in the city who are aiming to support these small businesses and attract tech companies into the ecosystem, that there can be funding to almost match what these companies are doing, so as to incentivize corporate institutions and corporate anchors to launch these programs. And that's where you get a lot of the scale from.
All these guys are helping you, Justis. You're all set. I mean, once these guys take over, you're on easy street. You're working 2 hours a day.
That's the hope. That's what I'm working for.
Czar of the day, from the view of the small business owner, right? What do you need that you're not getting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would be remiss to say, if it wasn't capital, if all small businesses had more capital, affordable capital, things would be a lot easier for us to survive, maintain, and operate. But there's other ways as well. There's other ways to leverage, the powers that you guys have to help small businesses, whether it be through, resources, programming, or even the employees. What does it look like for each one of the employees of DoorDash or Audible to have a 25% off incentive to shop at, Bricks and Pets? There's different ways to innovate around that. So if it were up to me, figure out a way where we can, partner with the corporations in the city itself, so that all employees, have some type of incentive to shop locally. I know there are some now, the Newark gift card, you have other programs, but how do we, think about a larger scale and, put pen to paper with that? I think that it would impact us greatly.
Awesome. All right, I started it, so I get to finish it, and I'm going to reprise something that I mentioned in Atlantic City, if anyone saw me at an economic summit, which stunningly went over very well. I couldn't believe it when I just said it off the cuff. So I'm going to say it now, and the NJPAC people are sweating because they have no idea what I'm going to say next. So, look, I just want to say out here, the biggest complaint businesses have right now is they can't find employees, right? Everybody can't find employees, right? So I always make this statement. So it just so happens that this is Autism Awareness Month, right? How many people in this room are unaware of autism? Is there anyone who hasn't got the word that there's something called autism and that there's people on the spectrum, right? So my son is on the spectrum, so this is personal for me. So to me, it should be changed to autism hiring awareness. How many people here know someone who's autistic, either in their own family or someone nearby, right? How many people know that in theory, the percentage of people with autism who have a job is about 16%? 16%. So the example I gave in Atlantic City, I said, you're looking to hire people. I said, if this was 1952, I'd be looking out at a bunch of white men and I'd say, you guys ever thought about hiring women, right? And half the people would be like, oh, no way, right? And then you get the next decade, and it's like, anybody think about hiring someone of color? You think maybe someone of color might be able to do a job here? We've added women. Can we add people of color? Is that okay? And then we go on, and someone says, hey, maybe we should hire a veteran? And that's what I don't understand. Why would anybody not hire a veteran, right? I mean, it's nice to say thank you for your service. How about saying, here's a job, right? So as we go on, I think somewhere along the line, people are going to say, how come we never thought to hire autistic people? Right? And why do we always describe autism as a disability as opposed to a characteristic? So there's a whole market of people out there to hire, and I'll throw my hat in the ring for autistic people have different jobs that they can do, they have different rates. The beauty and the blessing and the curse of the spectrum is everyone's on a different spot. They can all do different things. So when we're all looking for employees, let's make sure we look at everybody. Let's make sure we bring them all in. All right, with that, it's about 10:10. I think we're good. Round of applause for these guys. Round of applause for John Schreiber and NJPAC. And round of applause that you can keep on networking or you can go back to your job. It's your choice. Thank you.